Okay, we're here speaking with John
Armstrong.
And he seems like a strong personality. Can you tell me, John, what the reason is that we're here and what you want to tell everybody who might be watching this video when it comes out?
We're all here today because we are very concerned about fracking. But more specifically than that, we are very concerned that we're on the brink of New York State going ahead with fracking, permitting fracking, in spite of an overwhelming body of evidence suggesting that fracking cannot be done safely, that the science shows that this process should not go ahead, in fact, that this is an inherently dangerous process that will lead to water contamination, air pollution, outrageous climate impacts, and much more. But beyond that, right now, why we're actually here today is that we're concerned that the science on this matter is not being taken seriously, as well as over 66,000 public comments to the DEC on the fracking issue are not being taken seriously. 2 months ago, for instance, Governor Cuomo came out and said that a decision could be made, that this process could be finalized in a couple of months, he said. Now, look at those 66,000 comments. Those are a lot of comments, and a lot of those comments come from experts, scientists, geologists, hydrologists, doctors, real leaders in their field. They're very technical comments that bring in a lot of new science and information. And to think that we can actually adequately review those in a couple of months and take into account in a revised version of the disc ice is really fishy.
So basically, he's him being the governor doesn't care about the people he represents, or he doesn't really give any credit to whatever they think that is right or wrong. He just wants to do whatever he wants to do to satisfy his pals.
Governor Cuomo has said many times that he wants to listen to the science on fracking, not emotion. Yes. And we want to make sure that the science is listened to on fracking. And we're concerned with the state of the review process and, you know, outstanding calls from, for example, hundreds of medical doctors and medical organizations that we need to look at the health impacts, that a decision could be made on fracking without looking at the science. So that's why we're here. We want to ask DEC employees to come out and take a stand as whistleblowers on this process and make sure that the science is really listened to on fracking.
Now, to get somebody to be a whistleblower is kind of it's kind of a tough thing to do because they're afraid of losing their job. So maybe if we get the people who are about to retire to be the best whistleblowers would be the ones ready to retire. I think would be.
I think Governor Cuomo has said that he wants to listen to the science, and I think on that note, Governor Cuomo would only be happy to hear from a whistleblower who was talking about or making certain that the science is being listened to. Beyond that, there are many national and state protections in place for whistleblowers, and this country actually has a history of revering whistleblowers who have taken a stand for public health or what's right in the best interest of the public.
Do that.
But the bottom line is that fracking threatens to jeopardize the very health of our communities, our mothers, our siblings, our children, and we can't let this process go forward in such a way and without really looking at the science, which overwhelmingly shows that it can't be done safely.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty much common sense. You can't dig into the ground without having something going wrong. There's no way.
Well, think about, they're not just digging into the ground, they're actually blasting more than 500 dangerous chemicals down into the ground at high pressure and high volumes. Carcinogenic chemicals like benzene, toluene, and then down there in the shale they're bringing up things like arsenic, which is one of the most dangerous toxins that there is, as well as a high amount of radiation that's actually down there in the shale.
Now, what kind of radiation is that? That's radium and something else?
It's radium-226, uranium, and radon primarily.
Radon.
And so the radium-226, actually, the byproduct of that is radon. So the radionuclides attached to the wastewater, as well as to the natural gas, producing radon, which travels down our pipes to wherever the gas would potentially be burned. So it could be New York City, could be here. Radon is an inert gas, so it doesn't burn off like the natural gas does at your burner. It spews out into your homes, and radon is actually the #2 cause of lung cancer in the U.S. and #1 cause among non-smokers.
And you can't see it and you can't smell it, and that's the, that's the other thing.
It's a silent killer coming into your kitchens.
Yeah. How the governor and the rest of these people think that they can do this and not be affected by it in the long run is some kind of lack of intelligence there somewhere.
I think Governor
superhuman
Cuomo,
race they must be, or something that,
I think Governor Cuomo will realize that when it comes to fracking, if you break it, you own it. If you contaminate New York's water, then you own it. And in the long run, both politically as well as just for what's right, the governor doesn't want to go ahead with this. It will really be very disastrous for New York State in many ways, both for the health as well as the economy, as well as the climate of the entire world, if this goes ahead.
What's your feeling? You think he will want to do it?
I certainly hope he will, do what he has said and listen to the science on this, and come to a conclusion that he should not go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would imagine that science wouldn't budge him too much either, because if he's really set on the idea of doing it for people who have interest in gas and oil, it sounds like a tough.
Well, I hope he will also listen to a growing chorus of business owners and economists across the state who are saying that this is actually bad for the economy, where you have just a few jobs coming in, primarily to out-of-state workers, short-term jobs for the gas industry. It's actually going to destroy many other jobs, and the tourism industry, agriculture, small businesses. We could potentially be bringing in this heavy industrial operation right into our communities with economies that we've built up over generations.
Yeah, well, this whole idea of bringing up all the chemicals out of the water, out of the ground, there's something going on. I heard that they're thinking about using it on the ground to spread out all those chemicals onto the ground for melting ice and whatever other excuse they had for putting it out there. Are they selling it to these states, or are they just giving it away?
The very brief background on that is that one of the problems this industry has is that they produce a tremendous amount of wastewater and other waste products, one of which is brine, which is a mix of sand, salt, and toxics and radiation. And they don't know what to do with that. So they don't know what to do with the wastewater, but then the actual brine, this sand and salt mixed with toxics and radiation, they found is very, very good at de-icing roads. And so they actually are trying to give that away for free to municipalities across the state to spread on the roads to de-ice them. Now, they're claiming that there's nothing wrong with this, but the actual science, as well as a lot of research, shows that in fact this brine is really dangerous. It's radioactive, it's toxic, and it goes on our roads and it washes into our public waterways and potentially leads to
Why couldn't we have a meeting with these people who think that there's nothing wrong with it and bring a sample of that and let them rub it in their hands and maybe sniff it a little bit, and then let them tell us the same thing that you say they're saying, that there's nothing wrong with it. Why can't we do that? Why don't we challenge them with something like that and see what they say? If they back off, we know that's suspicious already.
Well, I think a lot of people have challenged them with that, and what we're seeing is a growing body of awareness across the state of New Yorkers who know that this is incredibly dangerous, and they start to see that these same people who say it's safe won't, for instance, put themselves in harm's way. And ultimately the gas industry is spending a tremendous amount of money on lobbying, in advertising, campaign contributions to try and hoodwink the American public as well as politicians into believing that this is a good idea.
Yeah, that's the thing is that there's not enough commercials on the against this. It's mostly commercials for the gas. Even the NPR seems to be leaning towards favoring fracking. They didn't say it outright, but I see they're leaning towards that every time I hear these little comments that somebody makes on NPR about how great some of the opinions are of having natural gas. On NPR, it doesn't seem to fit on NPR, but somehow it's leaking out into NPR. The disease is spreading, you know.
Yeah, the billions of dollars that the gas industry is putting into trying to sell this to the American public goes a long way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we believe that the truth will prevail on this, that the science will come out, and eventually it will be banned, both across New York State and across the country and across the world.
Because, you know, you have to think about all the creatures, birds and worms and everything else that are affected by it, not just human beings, even though we...
Well, he has to think about his own children.
Well, children too. There's children and animals.
I mean,
animals have
right there.
Have families. They have, you know, they're all included. You know, you can't
Yeah.
you can't leave them out. You know,
this is an issue that affects all people, the entire environment, and definitely the future. You know, one point that is very pointed is that natural gas has been touted as clean, but it's actually an extraordinarily dirty source of fuel.
Right.
It burns more cleanly than coal and oil, but the holistic process, getting it out of the ground, transporting it, and then burning it, releases a tremendous amount of methane gas, which is a very potent greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere. And it's actually worse for the climate than coal. And the climate ramifications for the weather and, you know, across the entire country and the world and the future of climate, those ramifications are absolutely terrifying.
Now, when you hear a commercial on TV or you see a commercial on TV about how great natural gas is, do they leave out? Is this some truth to this, that they're actually going to sell the gas somewhere else other than the United States?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. The price of natural gas in the United States is at a 10-year low right now, and perhaps more than that, and it's dropping rapidly. They can't make money on this gas for the most part selling it here. For the gas industry to make money on this, they really have to ship it overseas where they can sell it for 5-6 times as much as the U.S. So ultimately their plan with this gas is to liquefy it and then ship it overseas. For example, they are very soon to start construction on an approximately $10 billion export facility down in the Gulf, the Sabine Pass.
Good point.
Because, you know, they claim that they want to sell this gas here in the United States, but really they just want to make profit, and they can sell the gas for 5 times as much
they want to give
overseas.
us jobs. What kind of jobs they're talking about? You know, jobs maybe cleaning up after the mess they make. That might be available to most people, but we're not going to have the gas, the benefits of any gas. It's going to go somewhere else anyway. But people are they're being lied to on these TV commercials, basically.
Yeah, the gas.
You know, omitting is like lying. It's
no,
the
they're definitely manipulative campaigns.
Yeah. So anybody out there who may see this video, whenever you see these commercials, I want you to think about what they're really telling you, is that they're selling to somebody else what they're taking out of the ground here in the United States. So you're not going to get any benefit out of it. And don't believe it.
Ultimately, we'll get the contamination, the health impacts, the losses to our local economies, and the devastation, and have our apparently American natural gas shipped overseas to China and Asian and European markets.
Well, I guess that's it. I think that's the basics.
Yeah, it's very good basics.
Hope so.
What about you?
Good things or bad things?
Only good things. Well,
okay.
If you're going to be sort of taking the place of Maurice Hinchey?
Well, hopefully. We'll see. Hopefully.
Okay. I guess I'll ask you the same question. How do you see this whole picture of fracking from your part? From a...
I am well.
From your position.
Well, I'm 48 years old, and I remember 40 years ago in the early 70s, you know, the OPEC oil embargo, and we were supposed to solve this problem, you know, then. You know, but still over 90% of our energy is coming from coal, oil, nuclear power, and natural, I call it unnatural gas. And, you know, Germany has less sunlight than we do in New York State. They got solar panels all over the place. Dr. Richard Perez of the SUNY Albany School of Atmospheric Sciences says we could power all of New York State's energy, electrical supply needs with solar panels on less than 1% of the state's land. And I'm a strong anti-fractivist. I think it should be banned statewide. There should be an immediate national moratorium.
Or worldwide.
It should be, it should be criminalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a petition on it 4 years ago. There's 1,100 people signed on. If you go to petitiononline.com/no drill with a capital N, capital D, everything else is lowercase. But I've come to many frack action rallies. I almost got arrested here with a frack action event. We sort of occupied the New Paltz DEC offices a month or two ago. Almost got arrested. Oh, I will turn that off. Sorry.
That's okay.
Almost got arrested in Albany with Occupy Albany and Daniel Micah Morrissey at the DEC offices up there. But as far as we do need more whistleblowers to come forward, because according to the DEC's own records, there's 270 cases of fires, explosions, and wells being contaminated as it is right now already from natural gas drilling in New York State. And that's according to the DEC's own records. Walter Hang grew up in Dutchess County, worked for NYPIRG for 12 years, struck out on his own, started ToxicsTargeting.com. He was on Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Show, November 10th, 2009, talking about 270 cases of fires, explosions, and wells being contaminated right here across the state, as it is already from natural gas drilling. And then ProPublica has documented 1,000 cases of groundwater contamination from fracking across the country. Duke University came out with this report last May, peer-reviewed through the National Academy of Sciences, about 1,800% greater chance of methane in your well if your well is within 1 mile of being fracked. And even the U.S. Geological Survey and the state of Ohio is now saying that it's not chance or we're theorizing. They're saying we know that these earthquakes that just happened are from fracking. So,
but it's very quiet, all the stuff that's going on. You don't hardly ever hear about it. Certainly don't hear about it on TV commercials because they, they're not going to make money on it. But how do we get it out there so a lot of people can see it? What you're telling me,
Well, I'm just glad that everybody who's here is here right now. That's something that we struggle with on all the issues. Who owns the TV stations? Who owns the radio stations? Who owns the newspapers? It's not middle class, working class people like you and me. It's the wealthy corporate special interests. So we just gotta, I'm 48 years old. There's a lot of people that I've been active for 20 years. There's a lot of people here that have been active longer than that. I've been waiting my whole life for something like the Occupy movement. And I'm hoping that, there was an Arab Spring last year. There was a little bit of a American fall several months ago. And May 1st, I'm hoping is a day of action to shut down the system. A general strike. No work, no banking, no shopping, no chores, no schools.
That sounds good
no
to
nothing.
me, yeah.
Sounds good to me. They can do it in Europe, right? In Greece and Spain and Portugal and all sorts of... And so Martin Luther King said, a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. And I think for far too long, a lot of us have had our backs bent in this country, but I'm hoping and praying and I'm guessing and I'm seeing maybe a little bit more of us day by day getting our backs up.
Well, if they decide to try and do this, to try and start drilling, I think that a lot of people are going to have to come out by the thousands just to lay down on the ground. Because that may be the only answer for...
So we have to sue them, too.
We do have to, we got to put our, was it Mario Savio 50 years ago, put our body on the gears? And the interesting thing is, I'll say something which I think all of you know, because of those crazy kids on Zuccotti Park, Liberty Plaza, and the Occupy movement, everybody probably here is aware of the 99% Spring and Move On, and even sort of like the liberal progressive power structure. They've stepped up their game. They don't want to be left in the dirt, left in the dust. A lot of the labor leaders, I've been campaigning for Congress since last August, they give Occupy Albany a lot of credit for moving Cuomo at least a little bit on the millionaire's tax over the last year. So my point is, even Move On and sort of the more establishment organizations of the progressive movement, they're saying, time for mass training. It's the 99% Spring. Mass training on nonviolent civil disobedience. So you have to have hope. And also, I will say, at the risk of besmirching the good names of my Dutchess County friends, Ulster County has far fewer people than Dutchess County, but you guys kick our A's all over the planet. You guys have you have smaller numbers here of people, but when it comes to people being active, you put Dutchess County to shame. So don't be down in the mouth. Don't be down in the mouth. You guys kick our behinds.
Let me ask you
Dutchess
this
County.
now. There's a lot of millionaires and billionaires out there, right? That are kind of lean to the left and kind of would go along with anti-fracking business. Where is their money? Why aren't they putting their money into doing TV commercials that are anti-fracking?
It's sad, right? Even MSNBC, even MSNBC, every other commercial on Rachel Maddow is for natural gas, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a problem with her anyway.
A little bit too pro-war, I know.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, this banner I actually made with a friend of mine about a year ago. I know you guys need to. You guys have a wonderful opportunity here in New Paltz with the DEC.
Right.
But something else you may want to consider. Sue Holland and Valerie Carlisle and Gail DeLessio and Chris Nopel, and Jim Crevo, we've been gathering almost every Tuesday in front of Steve Salan's offices in Poughkeepsie. He's Senator Steve Salan, trying to push for Senate Bill 4220, ban fracking statewide. And so one thing you may want to consider is have a weekly thing here and then move it out there, because there's a heck of a lot of traffic. And then have a banner like this. I shouldn't be promoting Home Depot, but I will confess, I bought this for $15 at Home Depot like about 12 months ago.
So they're making money on anti-fracking.
I'm sorry, I should be going to a local independent hardware store. But I purchased this for like $15, and the paints weren't that much more. So, and what I'm saying is, do something every week here, and then move your crowd, whether it's 5, 10, 20 people, out there on 299, and have it every single week, like for maybe an hour or so.
You getting that, Bill? You got that. So we got that on.
And also, there's one more thing. There's a toll-free number for Cuomo in the state legislature. The toll-free number is 877-255-9417. That's 877-255-9417. That's courtesy of the New York State AFL-CIO. And if we're concerned about green jobs, there's something called the Solar Jobs Act of 2011, which would create 22,000 jobs, and that's with the solar renewable energy credits like they have in other parts of the Northeast, but we don't have it here in New York State.
They should take the, as far as green jobs, they should have that out in the street also. People who are promoting it and who are offering jobs, people take it out into the street and have them stand in a corner like this and offer jobs. Come get a job,
Well, I just heard on WAMC this morning that apparently there's a jobs fair, a fracking jobs fair taking place somewhere in New York State, all about what a wonderful boon to our economy fracking will be. And supposedly, unfortunately, there's dozens of businesses that have signed up. Oh, it's a fracking jobs fair. So why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing that up because we need to be holding green jobs fairs right here in New Paltz.
Right
Woodstock.
Next to them.
Right. But, again, the Solar Jobs Act of 2011, the fact that Germany has solar all over the place, and they have less sunlight than we do. And the other thing is this, the Greenpeace, 350.org, Citizens Environmental Coalition, 67 different groups last August wrote a letter to Obama saying there should be an immediate national moratorium on fracking. So I'm running for Congress. That's what I'm pushing for. Not just a statewide ban, but an immediate national moratorium.
He brought up fracking a few times.
The State of the Union address. That's one reason why I'm running. I'm not just running to replace Chris Gibson and to carry on the Maurice Hingie legacy. I'm running because, unfortunately, there's too many folks in the power structure of both political parties.
Being squeezed into the pro-fracking arena.
But again, thank you to you folks in Ulster County. We have active people in Dutchess County, but not like you guys. You guys put us to shame every day of the week, so don't stop.
This is a shameless group.
Don't stop shaming Dutchess County. We need to be shamed.
Okay, well, it was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you again. Okay, our next speaker is
Pramila Dixit Nag.
Did you get that?
From Rochester.
From Rochester. Wow, way up there.
From the town of Rochester.
Oh, town of Rochester,
right
which
here,
is
right here.
off 209, right?
Yes, in Ulster County.
Oh, I know where that is. So you're here for...
I'm here why everyone else is here is to help the DEC workers get the courage and the incentive to come out with the truth on fracking and to challenge the agency for which they work and to blow the whistle. They will be protected and they ought to do it in the interest of their friends and neighbors and the people that live in New York State.
So is it pretty guaranteed they won't lose their job over it, or will they find a reason to get them fired? Another reason. to create something to get them fired on. That's
well,
what
it's,
some of the
it's an
fears are with
interesting
these,
proposition to wake
Yeah.
up every morning and to go to work knowing that what you do every single day of your life is the wrong thing.
Right.
And if your driving force behind you is to put bread and butter on the table of your family, then surely it occurs to you every once in a while that you're actually snatching the bread and butter from other people's families. You're actually snatching the water out from
Right.
people's thirst. They can't bathe in peace because you're backing up a technology that you know to be wrong.
Right.
So I don't think it should be such a bread and potatoes question for DEC workers to come out and blow the whistle, and for all of us to rally around them. I'm sure they will have a job when the DEC actually does what it was meant to do, which is the Department of Environmental Conservation.
Right.
There should be lots of employment for all of them, supporting solar energy, wind energy, clean water. I mean, the job should be endless.
It's a big open field. And they should
Big
be looking
open
right
field.
now for jobs doing that while they're working
Absolutely, absolutely. And they should be blowing
then
the
they can
whistle
blow
on
the whistle.
fracking.
here. Right?
They can blow the whistle now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wrap it up.
yeah. Okay, well, nice talking to you.
Thank
That
you.
was clear.
That's string sealing, yes.
Is it holding up?
Yeah.